All right, guys. So are there any questions over the homework?
No, sir.
Yeah. So what we're doing today is chapter 10. So today is going to be 10.1. Tomorrow will be 10.3, 10.4, 10.5. So we're going to cover those. We were planning on doing 10.2 as well, but because of the fact that I had to miss last Thursday and then we were out Friday, I went on and just threw it out. We're going to do the others. And what we're doing today is probably should not take the whole hour, because we're talking about midpoint and distance formula. And y'all have done this a few times. Y'all done this in geometry, Algebra 1, 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade math. You've done this many. So the midpoint is what we're looking at first, guys. Midpoint, hood down. Midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. More or less, we add the x values together and divide by 2. Add the y values of the endpoints together and divide by 2, and that gives you the midpoint. So if we wanted to find the midpoint for line JK, given that the two endpoints are at negative 1, 2 and 6, 1, our midpoint M, we're going to use our formula, which is our x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Now, unlike slope, midpoint and distance, the way that we set up the x values doesn't matter. As long as we have the x values together and as long as we have the y values together, that's really all that matters. So when we look at this here, the x values are negative 1 and, so we're going to say negative 1 plus 6. And the y values are 2 and 1. Now we just need to simplify. Well, negative 1 plus 6 is 5 over 2. 1 plus 2 is? Well, can we simplify 5 halves or 3 halves? Well, no. There's no greatest common factor. I mean, we could rewrite it, yes. Because we could rewrite it as a mixed number. Because we could say that it's 2.5 and 1.5. Does that really change anything? No. We could say that this is 2.5 comma 1.5. I mean, it's still the same answer, isn't it? There's no real reducing. We don't have common factors, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As long as it's the correct answer, the form doesn't matter. As long as you don't mix the fractions up or put a mixed fraction. So guys, as long as you don't put an improper fraction as x and then a decimal as y, try to keep them the same. If you use a decimal for one and the other has a decimal, keep them both as decimals. So let's look at this next one here. Find the coordinates of the midpoint AB. A is 512, B is negative 4, 8. Well, we're going to say 5 plus negative 4. We put the x values first. Then we put the y values second. And now we need to simplify. And again, at this point, we could just plug it into a calculator. We could say 5 plus negative 4 over 2. And it tells us it's 1/2. And we can say 12 plus 8 divided by 2. 12 plus 8 over 2 is indeed 10. So the midpoint is 1/2 comma 10. Or we could say 0.5 comma 10. Either way. 12 plus... Questions on this here? We'll do distance next. And again, distance, we're just plugging in to the equation. Because the distance formula is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So, now they didn't give us straight points like for midpoint. They told us Tony's disc is 20 feet short and 8 feet to the right of the basket. Short 8, so 8, negative 20. On his first putt, its disc lands 2 feet to the left and 3 feet beyond. So luckily they did give us this here. How far did it travel? So our two x values are 8 minus negative 3. Or not negative 3, negative 2. Yes. Because the negative negative here would make a positive. And our two y values we can say are negative 20 minus 3. Now at this point here, you could type the whole thing into the calculator and it can do it for you. If we did this by hand, 8 plus 2 is 10 squared, plus negative 20 minus 3 is going to be negative 23 squared. 10 squared is 100, plus 23 squared is going to be something over 400, but less than 500. 529, so I was off. And if we add these two together, we get the square root of 629. Now we can take a calculator and say second square root, 629, and it doesn't reduce. There's not a perfect square factor that's in 629. So it just tells us this is the, yep. Now if we wanted to approximate, we can say 25.0798. Any questions on any of this here? Now, I think we feel pretty comfortable with this here, yes? Could we find the midpoint of this here? Because our midpoint was what? x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. But this here has what? 3. So this is x, y, z, yes? So the midpoint we know is x1 plus x2. Because this is our normal midpoint. So what would I need to do to change it to do it for this here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because here we have 3 variables, so the midpoint for 3 variables is going to be this here. So for this problem, if we wanted to find the midpoint, we can say negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2, comma, 4 plus negative 4 divided by 2, and 7 plus 10 divided by 2. -17.5, so 8.5. Negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2. So it's almost the exact same thing as what we just did. We just added one more variable. We could do the same thing with distance. Because if we wanted, guys, almost done. If we wanted to find the distance, we could do the exact same thing. We just add in the z values. It's not any different. We're just adding another component to it. But that's it.